Imagine for a second that you buy a simple, I don't know, ceramic coffee cup for $10.
Okay.
You take it home, you take some really nice photos of it, you put it online, and because you are a brilliant marketer, you turn around and sell that exact same cup to someone else for $100.
Right. Happening all the time.
Exactly. And in our modern world, what are you? You're a savvy capitalist, you're an entrepreneur, hitting your quarterly margins,
You might even get a magazine cover for that kind of markup.
You really might. But if you took that exact same transaction and transported it, say, 5,000 years back in time to the banks of the Nile River.
Oh, that changes things completely.
To the ancient Egyptian mind, you wouldn't be a businessman, you would be a cosmic thief.
Yeah, you would literally be viewed as a destructive force, actively tearing apart the fabric of the universe.
A cosmic thief actively destroying reality with a coffee cup. I mean, that is the jarring, incredible contradiction we are stepping into today.
It's wild.
Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to explore the very dawn of human reason. We are diving into the minds of the ancient African philosophers of Egypt, or Kemet as they called it.
Right. And here's why this is so completely paradigm shifting. When you or I think of the word philosophy, what is the immediate image that pops into your head?
I mean, for me, and probably for most people listening, it is almost universally a Greek marketplace.
Exactly. You picture Socrates, Plato, Aristotle.
Yeah, bearded men in togas debating the nature of the soul.
Right. That is the traditional Western starting line for human thought.
Exactly. But the sources we are unpacking today completely shatter that timeline. They really do.
Oh, they blow it out of the water.
They reveal that thousands of years, literally millennia before the Greeks were even like a blip on the historical radar, African thinkers along the Nile were already doing this.
And they weren't just dabbling. They were writing incredibly complex, sophisticated treatises on ethics, morality, statecraft, and the mechanics of the cosmos.
We are talking about the absolute first world thought.
Yeah, and it requires a massive shift in how we view history, because we are looking at individuals who didn't just ponder the universe in a sterile academic vacuum,
Right, they had jobs to do.
Exactly. They had to physically organize a functioning society around the longest river in the world. Their philosophy was born out of the mud.
The floodwaters of the Nile.
Yes, the absolute do-or-die necessity of millions of people living together without destroying one another.
So our goal today is to uncover the wisdom of these ancient African voices. We are going to travel from the mind of the world's first multi-genius, Imhotep.
A fascinating guy.
Unbelievable guy. All the way to the deeply cynical ancient blues of King Imhotep.
Yeah.
And we're going to extract the practical, life-changing nuggets of knowledge they left behind. Because the wild thing is, the mechanics they were figuring out 5,000 years ago,
They're still perfectly relevant.
they completely apply to how you navigate your career, your relationships, and your daily frictions today. Okay, let's unpack this.
So,
In the source material, these early philosophical writings are referred to by the ancient Kemetic term siboyet.
yes, c'est boyer. Now, typically modern scholars translate this simply as instruction or wisdom,
Okay.
but that English translation is, well, it's entirely too flat. It strips the word of its mechanical power.
What do you mean by mechanical power?
Well, in their written language, the Mdudu NTR, the hieroglyphic spelling for Seboyet, actually includes a specific star sign.
Wait, really? A star sign?
Yeah, it is a visual indicator denoting perception, deep insight, and literal light.
I absolutely love that. It's not just like, here is a list of rules from the king.
Right.
It's, here is the light you need to see in the dark. So we are essentially going on a journey through the world's oldest survival guides for the human soul.
That's a great way to put it.
But to even begin to understand these guides, we have to start with how the African mind actually perceived the fabric of reality itself.
Right, the foundation.
In the sources, it says their foundational philosophy is rooted in holism. But what does that actually mean in practice? Because today, holistic usually just means, I don't know, buying organic groceries.
Right, or doing yoga. What's fascinating here is how deeply this practical holism ran in their cognitive architecture.
Okay.
It was not a poetic metaphor.
Yeah.
It was the mechanical reality of their existence. To understand it, we really have to look at a concept we can call polyconsciousness.
Polyconsciousness. Break the mechanics of that down for us. How does a human mind operate in polyconsciousness?
Well, let's contrast it with how we think today. In a Western post-Enlightenment framework, we tend to think linearly and compartmentally.
We put things in boxes.
Exactly. You have your scientific understanding of a river, It's H2O, it has a current, it has an ecosystem.
Sure.
Then, completely separately, you might have a religious or poetic view of a river. And you just sort of switch between these perspectives.
Depending on the conversation.
Right. But polyconsciousness is the ability to engage with multiple, seemingly contradictory levels of reality simultaneously without cognitive dissonance.
So holding them all in your brain at the exact same time.
Exactly. Think of it like polyrhythmic music in traditional African drumming.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, you might have 3 or 4 completely different beats playing at the exact same time. To an untrained ear, it sounds like chaos.
Just a mess of noise.
Right. But they're actually interlocking to serve a unified higher harmony. The ancient Kemetic mind looked at the Nile and simultaneously saw the chemical water necessary for irrigation, the literal blood of the divine, a highway for commerce, and a spiritual boundary. All of those were equally true all at once.
So if you apply that polyconsciousness to time, that explains their concept of the unity of worlds.
Yes.
The sources emphasize that to these philosophers, time wasn't a straight line where the past is dead, the present is happening, and the future is waiting.
Precisely. They believed the ancestors, the living community, and the unborn are all existing together in one massive, ongoing, interactive community.
They did not view the dead as gone.
No, absolutely not.
Which fundamentally changes how you behave on a Tuesday afternoon.
It really does.
Think about it. If you believe your great-grandfather is literally actively present in the room with you, watching how you treat your neighbor, your moral calculus changes entirely.
Yeah, you have an audience.
You aren't just acting for yourself in the here and now. Your actions are reverberating backwards and forwards through time.
And the anchor point for all of this reverberating time, the ultimate cosmic blueprint that they were trying to align with, was a concept they called the first occasion.
Or Tep Zepi, right.
Yes, Tep Zepi. The moment of creation.
So what was that moment exactly?
The first occasion was the precise moment when the divine emerged from the void to create the universe. But it wasn't just like a historical event to them.
Right, not just a date on a calendar.
No, it established the perfect, flawless pattern for all existence. It was the ultimate constitution of reality.
Okay.
Every single thing that happens in our common, everyday time, is supposed to be a reflection of that perfect first occasion.
So what happens if you deviate? Like, what happens if you act in a way that disconnects from that original harmony?
That introduces the most terrifying concept in the Kemetic worldview, which is Isfet.
Isfet. That translates to evil or chaos.
It translates to evil, yes.
Yeah.
But mechanically, Isfet means dislocation, alienation, disconnection.
So it's not just a bad deed, it's a break in the system.
Exactly. It is the friction that degrades the system. And the entire goal of human life, the literal reason you wake up, breathe, and go to work, is to actively combat Isfet by reestablishing its opposite.
Which is Maat.
Yes, Maat.
If you take one word away from this entire deep dive, it has to be Maat. Truth, justice, harmony, balance, reciprocity.
It's the core of everything they believed.
Which brings me right back to our opening hook. I want to explore why the businessman selling the $10 cup for $100 is a cosmic thief. How does Maat explain that?
It comes down to reciprocity. If you buy a cup for $10 and exploit my lack of knowledge to sell it to me for $100, you have prioritized your personal isolated greed over the balance of the community.
You've tipped the scales.
You have introduced friction. You have generated isfet. To the Kemetic mind, human relationships are the structural pillars of the universe.
Okay, that makes sense.
How can we have a harmonious society if you are actively exploiting me? You aren't just hurting my wallet. By damaging our human connection, you are literally damaging the structural integrity of reality.
It's like the universe is this giant, infinitely complex jigsaw puzzle.
Right.
And every time you rip someone off or every time you lie, you're taking a puzzle piece and just violently smashing it into a spot where it doesn't fit.
That's a perfect visual.
You're warping the cardboard. You're ruining the entire picture for everyone, including the ancestors.
Yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is why their philosophy was relentlessly human-centered, not object-centered.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, this daily pursuit of Maat generated specific operational concepts that governed their entire civilization. You see these words everywhere in their hieroglyphs and art.
Like what kind of words?
Concepts like Ankh, which is life, Seneb, which is health, Djed, representing stability, and Neter, which refers to the divine.
I have to push on Seneb for a second.
Sure.
Because when we say health today, we mean like my cholesterol is low or I ran 3 miles. How did they view Seneb?
Seneb was not just the absence of physical disease. Because of polyconsciousness, a physical illness was often viewed as a manifestation of a spiritual or social imbalance.
Oh, so it's all connected.
Entirely. True Seneb meant your body, your mind, your relationships, and your connection to the ancestors were all vibrating in alignment with Maat.
That is incredibly profound, just a totally different way to look at well-being.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's Neter, the divine.
Right. The sources point out something fascinating about this word. The plural is neteru, representing the totality of the divine, the all-encompassing nature of everything.
Yes.
And some etymologists theorize that the English word nature might actually derive from this ancient Kemet word, neter.
It's a highly compelling theory, and it makes perfect mechanical sense, you know?
How so?
Well, to the African philosophers of the Nile, the divine wasn't a bearded man sitting on a cloud outside of the universe. The divine was the natural world.
Oh, wow.
They didn't separate God from nature. The divine was the river flowing, the scarab beetle rolling its dung, the storm clouds gathering, and the human mind thinking.
Everything is imbued with it.
Exactly.
So if everything is connected to this perfect first occasion and the natural world itself is divine, we really need to understand the mechanics at the beginning.
Right.
Like if they didn't have modern radio telescopes, how did these ancient philosophers conceptualize the actual beginning of the universe? How did the first occasion happen?
Well, every robust philosophical system has to grapple with cosmogony, the origin of reality.
Sure.
The Egyptians observed the world around them to deduce the unseen. They believed that before time, before space, before light, there was only none.
The watery abyss?
Yes, none was an incomprehensible, infinite, dark, cosmic sea of potential energy.
So just completely formless.
Exactly. There was no form. And from this abyss emerged the One. Now, depending on which ancient city center of learning you were studying in, the name of the One and the exact method of creation varied slightly,
Right.
but the core physics of the philosophy were identical.
Right. The sources talk about how from this watery abyss the universe started as this incredibly dense, impenetrable ball of raw.
Yes.
The text says it was so dense that no light could escape it. It contained all the matter of the universe, and then boom, it bursts forth.
It's a sudden expansion.
I read that and I thought, wait a minute. Thousands of years ago, they were conceptualizing a singularity. That is wildly similar to the modern astrophysical concept of the Big Bang.
It really is.
Yeah.
And they arrived at these conclusions through intense, sustained observation of natural cycles.
Give me an example of that.
Take the Philosophical Center at Heliopolis, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Their scholars believe the creator deity, Atum, achieved self-consciousness within the dark abyss.
So he just woke up in the void.
Essentially, yes. He realized he existed. And through that realization, he created the universe through a physical projection.
Okay, and the texts describe this pretty biologically, right?
They do. They describe it metaphorically as either his own semen or the projection of his heart. And they symbolize this act of becoming with the scarab beetle known as Khepri.
A dung beetle.
Yeah.
I mean, of all the majestic animals and lions, crocodiles, eagles, they pick the dung beetle to represent the creation of the cosmos. Why?
Because of observation. They watch the scarab beetle roll a ball of dung, which is, let's face it, dead waste material.
Right, literal waste.
They plant its seed inside it, and from that dead matter, new life would emerge. They observe the beetle passing through distinct stages.
Like a metamorphosis.
Exactly. The egg, the larva, the nymph, and finally realizing its winged form, flying up toward the sun. By observing this humble insect, they unlocked a philosophical key to transformation, evolution, and consciousness.
That's amazing.
Creation wasn't a static event that happened once. It was a constant, ongoing act of becoming.
Okay, that makes perfect sense for Heliopolis, but then you look at the Philosophical Center at Memphis. And their creation theory is where my brain just completely lights up. The Memphite theologians believed that their supreme deity, Ptah, didn't use a physical projection. How did Ptah create the universe?
The Memphite theology is arguably one of the most sophisticated intellectual achievements of the ancient world. They believed Ptah stood on the primeval mound emerging from the waters of none.
Okay.
He first conceptualized the universe in his heart, which to them was the seat of the mind and intellect.
So he thought of it first?
Yes. And then he simply opened his mouth and used his tongue to command it to be. He spoke reality into existence.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because Ptah spoke the world into existence, That implies a specific mechanic about language.
Definitely.
It means words aren't just breath pushing past vocal cords. Words have material substance. The sources call this concept unchangeable, the living word.
The living word is the absolute bedrock of their entire civilization. When a word is spoken with intent, power, and alignment with Maat, it is literally a transformative agent.
It alters physical reality.
Exactly. It activates the divine.
It makes total sense when you map it onto our daily lives.
Right.
Think about the English language today. What do we call the act of arranging letters to form a word?
We call it spelling.
Spelling, as in casting a spell.
Right.
Or think about being in a crowded auditorium when a truly incredible orator takes the stage. They speak 3 sentences, and you can literally feel the barometric pressure in the room shift.
The whole energy changes?
The hairs on your arms stand up. You feel physical chills. That is Ankh-Madu in action. The vibration of the sound is physically altering your body.
And if we connect this to the broader tapestry of world history, this deep understanding of the elements and the power of the word is exactly the knowledge that later blew the minds of the early Greek philosophers.
Really? The Greeks were studying this?
Oh, absolutely. Thinkers like Thales and Anaximander didn't develop their ideas in a vacuum. They traveled to Africa.
To Kemet?
Yes. They studied under these Egyptian priests, sometimes for decades, and learned these exact cosmogonies.
But when they packed up their bags and took the homework back to Greece, they made a massive fundamental edit to the philosophy, didn't they?
They did. The Greeks adopted the Egyptian understanding of the primary elements, water, air, fire, earth, and the mechanics of a universe emerging from a primordial state.
Okay.
But they systematically stripped away the Kemetic theology. Thales, for instance, taught that everything was formed out of water by a natural mechanical process.
Right.
He effectively took the Kemetic creator deities like Ptah and Atum out of the equation.
He secularized it.
Exactly. They created what we now call secular natural philosophy.
Interesting.
It wasn't necessarily a malicious theft. It was a cultural translation. But it's crucial for historical impartiality to recognize that the Greeks were standing squarely on the shoulders of African intellectual giants who had mapped this out millennia prior.
So we have this incredible foundation. We have polyconsciousness, we have a universe built on reciprocity, and we have the belief that words literally create reality.
They have a very robust system.
But abstract philosophy is just hot air until someone actually uses it. Who is the first human being to take this massive cosmic philosophy and apply it to dirt, stone, and flesh?
That brings us to a man who is arguably one of the most remarkable figures in all of recorded human history.
Imhotep.
Yes, Imhotep. He lived around 2700 BC during the Third Dynasty, serving as the Grand Vizier to Pharaoh Djoser.
Imhotep's resume is just absurd.
It really is.
Reading it makes you feel incredibly lazy. He was an architect, a physician, an astronomer, a mathematician, the prime minister, the chief lector priest. I mean, the sources explicitly call him the first multidimensional personality recorded in human history.
He was a true polymath.
To even grasp what he was, I have to mash up Leonardo da Vinci, Albert Einstein, and a Supreme Court justice all into one guy.
That's a great way to think about him.
And he was doing this almost 5,000 years ago.
Your analogy is very apt. Imhotep wasn't just highly skilled in one area. He was the first thinker to leave an indelible, revolutionary mark on multiple, completely separate disciplines simultaneously.
Wow.
But what is most crucial about Imhotep isn't just what he did, but how he approached his genius. He possessed zero intellectual arrogance.
Yes. The legend of the 7 Years' Famine.
It's such a telling story.
This story perfectly illustrates his character. Imagine the stakes. The Nile fails to flood for 7 consecutive years.
Yeah.
Absolute apocalyptic catastrophe.
That's starvation.
The crops are dead. There's starvation everywhere. Society is on the brink of collapse. Pharaoh Djoser is in full panic mode. He summons his genius vizier, Imhotep, and basically demands, fix this.
You're the genius, solve it.
Right. Now, a lesser man, a guy with a massive ego trying to protect his job, would have just started barking orders or pretending he knew the answer to look powerful. What does Imhotep do?
He demonstrates the ultimate model of intellectual humility. He stands before the most powerful man on earth and says, I don't know.
Unheard of.
And then he models the behavior of a true scholar. He doesn't invent a solution out of thin air. He goes to the temple library. He consults the ancient texts that were ancient even to him in 2700 BC.
He literally hits the books to save the world.
He researches the theological and geographical origins of the Nile. Through his deep study, he discovers that the solution lies in honoring the god Kum at the island of Elephantine.
Okay, so a specific theological action.
Right. He advises the king to make the proper supplications, to realign the state with Maat, and the famine is broken.
Wow.
It shows that his genius was rooted in a profound respect for the wisdom of the past, for the Seboyet of his ancestors.
But his biggest physical legacy, the thing you can book a flight to Egypt and still touch today, is the Step Pyramid at Saqqara.
Yes, his architectural masterpiece.
He built it for Pharaoh Djoser. And the source text points out we need to stop looking at pyramids as just big piles of rocks used to bury a dead guy.
Oh, absolutely.
The Step Pyramid was philosophically groundbreaking.
To truly understand the Step Pyramid, you have to read it as a physical manifestation of Kemetic philosophy. Before Imhotep, royal tombs were essentially flat, rectangular, mud brick structures called mastabas.
So they were just flat tombs.
Right. And they were temporal. They decayed. Imhotep conceptualized something unprecedented. He wanted to take the philosophical concept of jet stability and permanence and render it into physical reality.
So how did he do it? What was the mechanical problem he had to solve?
Well, he had to invent a way to build with quarried limestone on a massive scale.
No one had done that before.
Not like this. He had to solve unprecedented engineering problems regarding weight distribution, space, and volume to stack these mastabas on top of one another.
Papering them upwards.
Exactly. Creating a towering six-tiered pyramid. He created an environment perfectly balanced and harmonized so the pharaoh's spirit could commune with the Neteru forever.
He's literally building a stone staircase to the heavens. He invents stone architecture as we know it.
Pretty much.
And while he's busy doing that, he is also casually revolutionizing human medicine.
Naturally.
But again, he's doing it through that lens of polyconsciousness. He wasn't just acting like a modern trauma surgeon setting broken bones.
Right. As both a master physician and the chief lector priest, Imhotep understood that the body and the spirit were intimately mechanically linked.
You couldn't treat one without treating the other.
Exactly. He used empirical, observable science. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, which is heavily attributed to his lineage of thought, contains some of the first recorded, purely scientific diagnoses of anatomical injuries.
Like actual hard science.
Real science. But he combined that hard science with Enkidu. He used incantations.
Because giving someone a medicinal herb without speaking the living word over it is only doing half the job.
Precisely. To the Kemetic mind, the chemical properties of the medicine couldn't fully heal the patient unless they were empowered and activated by the vibrational energy of the spoken word.
They literally spoke the healing into the patient.
The doctor had to speak health seneb into the patient. It's an incredibly holistic approach to patient care that recognizes the power of belief and spiritual alignment.
Something modern psychosomatic medicine is just now starting to quantitatively measure.
Exactly. We're just catching up.
He was so successful at this, so universally revered, that within 50 years of his death, he was actually deified. He became the god of medicine.
A rare honor.
Thousands of years later, even the Greeks worshipped him under the name Asclepius. The guy literally becomes a god.
It's true.
But despite all this heavy, eternal, cosmic responsibility, the sources reveal he actually had a really grounded, almost surprisingly modern view of daily life.
You're referring to the Harper song.
Yes. There's this poem associated with his tomb complex, and it essentially says, look, the fences and walls are destroyed over time, the houses exist no more, and nobody comes back from the tomb to tell us what's actually going on down there.
It's very pragmatic.
It's so pragmatic. It says, so, anoint yourselves, put on nice clothes, eat, drink, and be merry, because your day of departure is coming. It's surprisingly chill for a guy whose entire life was obsessed with eternity.
It really is. It reveals a profound psychological balance. He spent his life building million-ton monuments to eternity, yet he deeply understood the fleeting, fragile, precious nature of the present moment.
He knew how to live.
That dual awareness is the essence of true wisdom.
Okay, so Imhotep figures out how to build stone structures that last forever. But the next generation of African philosophers had an even harder, messier question to answer.
Oh, definitely.
How do you build a society that lasts forever? You can stack limestone blocks using math, but how do you stack human beings so they don't crush each other under the weight of their own egos?
That transitions us perfectly from the philosophy of architecture to the philosophy of social morality. And the titan of this era is a man named Ptahhotep,
Ptahhotep.
who wrote his Seboye, around 2414 BC.
Ptahhotep is amazing. He's this high-ranking vizier, and in the prologue to his text, he claims to be 110 years old.
An impressive age.
Very impressive. And he writes this huge, complaining prologue about his body breaking down.
Right, he doesn't hold back.
He says his joints ache, his eyes are going dim, his ears are deaf, everything he eats tastes bitter, and he sleeps all day like a child. Why on earth does a brilliant philosopher start his book by complaining about his arthritis?
Well, he is using his extreme advanced age as a staff of authority. In African traditions, age is synonymous with experience, survival, and proximity to the ancestors.
So it's a flex.
It is entirely a flex. He is establishing his absolute credibility before he passes down his wisdom to his son. He's effectively saying, look, I have navigated the treacherous waters of the royal court and human society for 110 years. I survived. I know what I'm talking about. Listen to me.
And his teachings are incredibly practical. He isn't talking about abstract cosmologies or the watery abyss. He's talking about how to behave at a dinner party.
Right. Very day-to-day stuff.
Let's look at some of these specific maxims from Ptahhotep. Number 1, don't be arrogant because you know more than others, because perfection is elusive.
Good advice.
Number 2, keep your temper when others lose theirs. Be cool. Number 3, don't despise someone just because they have a different opinion. And my favorite, behave well when you are eating at someone else's house.
Now, this raises a very important question. How do simple table manners and keeping your temper when someone annoys you relate to the massive cosmic balance of Maat we discussed earlier?
Exactly. How does chewing with your mouth closed maintain the universe? Because telling your kid don't be arrogant doesn't sound like high-level astrophysics.
It does if you remember the core mechanic.
Yeah.
The collectivity is stronger than the individual. Human relationships are the actual physical scale upon which morality is weighed.
So the little things matter on a cosmic level.
Every time you lose your temper in a meeting, or act arrogantly toward a waiter, or display gluttony at a dinner table, you are introducing social friction. You are generating isfet.
You're warping the puzzle piece.
Precisely. Ptahhotep is teaching his son that Maat isn't just maintained by the pharaoh doing grand rituals in a temple.
It's maintained by regular people.
Right. Maat is maintained by you. Every single day in how you speak to your neighbor, how you handle a disagreement, and how you conduct yourself in public. If the micro-interactions of society are harmonious, the macrocosmos is stable.
And to prove how timeless this is, the source text shares this brilliant modern anecdote.
Oh, the dorm story.
Yeah, the dorm story. There's a story about a modern university professor dealing with a massive dispute in a dorm. There's an American student who stays up late blasting loud music, and the Ghanaian students living next door are furious.
Understandably.
Right. The American gets defensive, accusing the Ghanaians of waking up at 5 a.m. and making noise themselves. Tempers are flaring. They are literally moments away from a physical altercation.
It's escalating quickly.
But the professor steps in, and instead of yelling or handing out punishments, he channels Ptahhotep. He keeps his temper incredibly cool. His calm, balanced demeanor completely changes the vibrational energy of the room.
He de-escalates.
He de-escalates the tension, apologies are made, the music goes down, and everyone keeps their dignity. A 4,000-year-old rule about keeping a cool temper perfectly resolved a modern noise complaint.
Because human nature and the mechanics of human conflict do not change.
They really don't.
And this deep understanding of relational harmony was expanded even further by another great philosopher of the era, a vizier named Kagemni, who wrote around 2300 BC.
Kagemni.
Kagemni synthesized his teachings into 6 jets, or 6 foundational pillars of morality.
The 6 pillars: devotion, compassion, loyalty, balance, solidarity, and judgment.
And what is truly visionary, what makes Kagemni so ahead of his time, is how far he extended that second pillar, which is compassion.
He went pretty far with it.
He didn't just mean compassion for your fellow humans. He explicitly stated that the ideal person has compassion upon all living creatures.
This is wild to me. It's 2300 BC, and this guy is essentially inventing ecological conservation.
He absolutely is.
Yeah.
If you look at the intricate carvings inside Kagemni's tomb, they are overwhelmingly filled with vibrant depictions of nature geese, crocodiles, dragonflies, frogs, hyenas.
So not just the glamorous animal.
No, the whole ecosystem. He understood, through polyconsciousness, that the human community is completely embedded within the larger ecological community.
Okay, yeah.
Destroying the environment, killing animals wantonly, or polluting the river, These weren't just bad agricultural practices.
They were offenses against the universe.
Yeah.
Because everything is everything. If you disrespect the crocodile, you are disrespecting the divine neater.
Exactly. It's a profound ecological dignity that we, with all our modern technology, are still desperately struggling to fully grasp today.
Okay, so it's one thing to be moral and compassionate when you're just navigating a dinner party or deciding not to step on a frog.
Yeah.
But what happens to Maat when you take a human being with all their flaws and ego and hand them absolute, unchecked political power?
Now we enter the incredibly perilous realm of statecraft.
Right. Because maintaining harmony sounds great in theory. Until you are the king, you have the army, and half the court is secretly trying to take your throne.
It gets much more complicated.
The deep dive sources introduce us to a trio of philosophers who tackled the brutal burden of leadership: Merikare, Sehoteipibre, and Amenemhat.
Let's start with Merikare, who ruled around 1990 BC. He is often called the philosopher of communication.
Okay.
His advice to future rulers was remarkably pragmatic. He told them to be benevolent, to actively care for the widow and the orphan.
That sounds standard enough.
But he didn't frame it just as a nice moral thing to do. He framed it as good, solid politics.
Common sense. He literally writes, do good because people will love you and build monuments to you.
Exactly. And he heavily emphasizes the power of the tongue. He says a skilled speaker is immune to attack.
Wow.
Merikare recognized that rhetoric, persuasion, and the mastery of Enkidu are tools of governance that are far more effective and far cheaper than military slaughter.
Cheaper in a lot of ways, yeah.
He advises his son not to kill his enemies unnecessarily, but to use imprisonment or beatings, because indiscriminate slaughter does not profit you. It's a very cold, calculated application of Maat.
And then you have Sehoteipibre, who wrote around 1991 BC. He was the ultimate royalist, the ultimate loyalist.
Oh, he certainly was.
And he has this wild, boastful resume in his text. Let me read a piece of this because the imagery is fantastic.
Go for it.
He calls himself overseer of horn, hoof, feather, scale, and swimming pools, straight and true like Jehudi, more accurate than the plummet, an official who unravels what is naughty.
He had quite the self-image.
The guy clearly had no self-esteem issues.
No, humility was not his primary virtue, but Sehotepibre's core teaching was absolute, unwavering loyalty to the king. And to understand this, we have to strip away our modern cynicism about politicians. In ancient Kemet, loyalty to the king wasn't just political bootlicking to get a promotion in the cabinet.
It wasn't just kissing up to the boss. Why was it so important mechanically?
Because the king was the physical embodiment of the Ka force.
The Ka force.
The Ka was the vital energy, the structural integrity of the entire nation. The king literally held the cosmos together.
So if the king falls, the universe falls.
Therefore, to rebel against the king or to be secretly disloyal was to literally invite the sky to fall and the river to dry up. Loyalty was a metaphysical necessity for survival.
Okay, if we are talking about the burden of leadership, the pain of statecraft in the ancient blues, I want to bring up B.B. King.
The blues guitarist.
Yeah, you know, the legendary blues guitarist. He had this guitar he named Lucille. And when B.B. King played, he played from a place of deep, visceral pain, betrayal, and heartbreak.
Right, true blues.
It was the sound of a man who had seen the darkest sides of human nature. Well, the third philosopher in this trio, King Amenemhat, he is basically the 1991 BC equivalent of B.B. King playing Lucille.
That is a very apt comparison.
Because Amenemhat was a great king who did exactly what Merikare advised. He gave to the poor, he promoted orphans, he fed the hungry. And his reward for all this benevolence?
Betrayal.
A nighttime assassination attempt by his own personal bodyguards.
It is one of the most tragic texts from the ancient world.
Listen to the despair in his Seboye. He's writing this warning to his son, Senusert, and he says, I gave to the poor and nourished the orphan. It was the one who ate my food who disdained me. It was the one whom I gave my hand that aroused fear.
Heartbreaking.
I awoke to fight alone, and I noticed that it was a hand-to-hand affray of the bodyguard. And his ultimate conclusion from this horrific trauma is just devastating. He tells his son, trust not a brother, know not a friend, and make not for yourself intimates.
It is the absolute depths of cynicism. It is a total collapse of human trust.
But wait a minute, we need to push back on this.
Okay, push back.
Doesn't Amenemhat's story challenge the entire premise of this deep dive? Doesn't it prove that Maat is fundamentally flawed as a practical philosophy?
How so?
Well, you can talk about cosmic harmony, polyconsciousness, and balance all day long, but when applied to real human greed, the guys you feed and clothe are still going to try and murder you in your sleep.
Right.
Doesn't that make the whole cosmic web incredibly fragile and naive?
That is the ultimate tension of the Kemetic worldview, isn't it? If the king literally holds the cosmos together, and his own guards can just sneak in and stab him, doesn't that make reality inherently flawed?
Yeah, exactly.
The answer is no. It doesn't prove Maat is a naive utopia. In fact, Amenemhat's despair highlights exactly why Maat requires such constant, exhausting, vigilant maintenance.
Why?
Because human nature inherently possesses a chaotic element, the constant pull towards Isfet. The universe naturally trends toward entropy, and human society naturally trends toward selfishness.
Oh, I see.
Maat isn't a magic spell you cast once that suddenly fixes everyone's morality. It is a daily, grueling physical and spiritual struggle against the dark.
Wow.
Amenemhat suffered because he perhaps fell into the illusion that his good deeds automatically guaranteed loyalty. He forgot the friction. The reality is that the balance of the universe must be fought for every single day against the rogues in the night.
Wow. Okay. That is a heavy realization. Maat isn't peace. Maat is the constant work of peace.
Beautifully said.
Now, we've spent a lot of time with the elites. We've got viziers, architects, kings, guys with golden swimming pools and bodyguards.
But 1%.
Right. But did this high-minded philosophy of Maat actually do anything for the regular, everyday person in ancient Egypt? If you weren't a pharaoh building a pyramid, did Maat actually protect you from injustice?
That is the perfect question, and it brings us to one of the most famous and beloved literary texts from the Middle Kingdom.
The eloquent peasant.
Yes, featuring a man named Kunanop.
I love Kunanop. So Kunanop is just a regular guy, a simple farmer. He's walking his donkeys down a narrow public path, carrying his goods to trade.
Minding his own business.
Exactly. He comes across the property of a rich, well-connected man named Nemtenot. And Nemtenot is a total bully. He intentionally traps Kunanop.
He sets an extortion trap.
Yes. He takes a sheet of linen and lays it across the narrow path so Kunanop has to walk his donkeys either down into the river or up into Nemtenot's barley field.
Mechanically, it's a perfect dilemma designed to force a technical violation of property.
Exactly. So one of Kunanop's donkeys takes a single bite of barley as they try to pass, and Nemtenot uses this tiny infraction as an excuse to seize all of Kunanop's donkeys and all of his goods. He robs him blind under the guise of the law.
It is a classic tale of the powerful exploiting the powerless, and in almost any other ancient society, that would simply be the end of the story.
The guy goes home broke.
The peasant would go home, his family would starve, and the rich man would get richer.
But not in Kemet, because Kunanop refuses to accept this Isfed. Instead of rolling over and accepting his fate, he goes to the local magistrate, a powerful official named Renzi, and he demands justice.
And he doesn't just whine or beg.
He uses Ankh-Medu. He unleashes this incredible torrent of divine speech and profound oratory.
This is a crucial detail that needs unpacking. To understand how a simple peasant could speak with such overwhelming philosophical power, we have to look at how deeply the Egyptians guarded and revered the secrets of the word through their mystery system of education.
Right. The sources detail this. If eloquence is the ultimate weapon for a peasant like Kunanop, how did everyday people actually acquire that weapon?
Well, the sources say the priests used 5 specific systems to convey and conceal truth. Let's dig into the mechanics of that.
Yes, let's.
The mastery of language was treated with the rigor of higher mathematics. They used methods like gematria and temra.
Break those down for us. What's gematria?
Gematria involves assigning numerical values to letters and words. They believed that if 2 different words shared the same numerical value, they vibrated at the same cosmic frequency and shared a hidden mechanical relationship in reality.
So language is literally the source code of the universe.
Exactly. And temura involved a highly complex transposition and anagramming of letters.
Like rearranging them.
Yes. Changing a letter wasn't a typo. It was a localized distortion of reality. They understood the architecture of language on a profound metaphysical level.
That is incredibly intense.
And coupled with this rigorous mathematical linguistic training were the 10 virtues of Maat in speech.
Let's list a few of those virtues because they are incredibly relevant to how we communicate today. Criticality, the ability to distinguish right from wrong in your arguments.
Crucial for any debate.
Tolerance, permitting others to express views without shutting them down. Forbearance, freedom from resentment when debated.
Kunanop, despite being a simple peasant covered in dust, possessed these virtues and understood the mechanics of eloquence.
He really did.
He wielded language so beautifully, aligning his plea perfectly with the cosmic principles of Maat. that the magistrate Renzi was absolutely captivated.
Renzi is so impressed by the sheer artistry and truth of Kunanup's argument that he brings the case all the way to the pharaoh.
He escalates it to the top.
And ultimately, Kunanup wins. He gets his goods back, and the rich bully Nemtinat is punished. It proves that in this society, eloquence and justice weren't just reserved for the guys building pyramids.
Right, they were accessible.
There were weapons available to all classes to fight back against corruption.
It demonstrates the fundamental Kemetic belief that the highest power in the land wasn't wealth, and it wasn't the sword. It was the mastery of the spoken word, aligned with truth.
And if we are talking about the rigorous education required to master the word, we absolutely cannot skip past a man named Duaf.
Oh, Dwarf is great.
He writes around 1340 BC, and he is essentially every parent who has ever begged their kid to stay in school and get a degree.
He's the ultimate anxious parent.
Duaf is a master of protocol, and his instruction to his son, Pepi, is a masterpiece of satirical persuasion. He is taking his son down the river to the school for scribes, and he desperately wants Pepi to love books, as he says, more than his own mother.
Which is quite a bar to set for a teenager.
Seriously. And to convince Pepi that being a scholar is the absolute only way to go in life, Duaf systematically roasts every other profession in ancient Egypt.
He tears them apart.
It is visceral and hilarious. Let me read some of these descriptions. He says, "I have seen the smith at his task at the mouth of his furnace. His fingers were like stuff from crocodiles. He stank more than the offal of fishes."
A very vivid sensory deterrent against manual labor.
He goes on, "The stonemason seeks work in all types of hard stone. When he sits down at dusk, his thighs and his back are broken."
Not glamorous at all.
And my absolute favorite, the barber shaves late into the evening, going from street to street. He strains his arm in order to fill his stomach like a bee feeds at its work.
It's a very humorous text, but the underlying mechanic of his argument is incredibly serious.
He has a real point to make.
Duaf is cementing the societal idea that intellectual labor, the mastery of reading, writing, and understanding the universe, is the highest calling a human being can achieve.
Right.
He tells Pepi, the scribe, his is every place of the residence, and he knows what he's doing.
Knowledge is the ultimate freedom. If you control the words, you control your destiny.
Exactly.
You aren't breaking your back for someone else. You are the architect of your own reality.
And we see the ultimate culmination of this societal reverence for the intellect in the historical figure of Imhotep, son of Hapu.
Okay, tell us about him.
He lived around 1400 BC. Like Imhotep, he was an architect and a philosopher. He was so brilliant, such a master of the sacred books and the principles of Maat, that the pharaoh Imhotep III had massive statues erected of him during his own lifetime.
And the sources say the earliest known statue of a thinker, long before Rodin's famous bronze sculpture of a man resting his chin on his hand, is actually of Amenhotep.
That's right.
Sitting calmly in the lotus position with a papyrus roll spread across his lap.
Exactly. He wasn't depicted holding a bloody sword or a scepter or a bag of gold.
He was depicted holding a book.
He was eventually deified by the people, worshipped as a god of wisdom alongside Imhotep. It proves that the ultimate lesson of ancient Egyptian philosophy is that the mind and the mastery of the written and spoken word is the absolute pinnacle of human achievement.
Okay, let's take a deep breath and synthesize the massive millennia-spanning journey we've just been on.
It's been quite a ride.
We started before time even began, in the dense, dark Big Bang of the watery abyss of none. We watched Imhotep solve the engineering problems of eternity to stack millions of tons of limestone into the step pyramid.
Incredible achievements.
We sat at the dinner table with a 110-year-old Ptahhotep learning how keeping our tempers maintains the universe. We listened to King Amenemhat sing the ancient blues after realizing that human nature requires a daily fight against chaos.
Yes.
And we stood in the dusty road with Kunanup, as a simple farmer, used the vibrational power of eloquence to defeat a rich bully.
It is a breathtaking intellectual legacy, and it completely rightfully rewrites the traditional narrative of human history.
It really does.
The foundation of human philosophy, the organized, systematic pursuit of truth, justice, and the mechanics of reality, it didn't start in a Greek marketplace. It started in Africa.
Driven by the profound mechanical belief that everything is everything, that your actions, your greed, your table manners, your compassion for a frog, they don't just affect you in the moment.
No, they ripple out.
They ripple out across time and affect the structural integrity of the entire cosmos.
And above all, it was driven by the belief that our words have the literal physical power to alter reality.
Which brings me to a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over as you go about your day.
Think about this one.
The ancient Kemetic philosophers believed so deeply in Enkidu, the living word, that speaking a lie or using a harsh word against someone was seen as an act of cosmic vandalism.
Cosmic vandalism.
It physically damaged the fabric of the universe. Now think about your own phone. Think about your inbox. In our modern world, we fire off words constantly.
We really do.
We shoot off quick texts, we blast out angry tweets, we draft passive-aggressive emails while we are distracted by a dozen other things. We are swimming in a sea of cheap, disposable words.
So cheap.
But what would happen if we adopted the mindset of Imhotep or Kunanub? What would happen if we treated our daily words as if they were literally writing the future of our souls in stone?
It would change everything.
The next time you open your mouth or the next time your thumb hovers over the send button on your phone, ask yourself, do your words build a step pyramid of harmony, or do they just add to the chaos of the night?
A vital, profound question for our time.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. Keep seeking out the ancient wisdom and see how it fits into your modern life. Until next time.